Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video where I am going to be talking about Shadow Dancer's Type XVIIIa Gothic Longsword. So, this is a really nice sword for the most part. I got it off of Swordus. That's the only place that I know of where it is available. Pretty sure Shadow Dancer is their personal line, but I could be mistaken on that. So right off the bat, as you can see, it is good looking. The scabbard is good looking. The hilt is good looking. We got some really nice stitching down the back and some really nice stitching around the rain guard there. If I did have to get nitpicky about the scabbard, one little thing, we just have the fact that we got straps here that aren't connected to anything. So you need to either make your own straps to hook up to the belt, or have a belt that has those straps automatically there. The leather tie to have them connected to the scabbard, though, is very nice, and the scabbard itself is really high quality and really good looking. Now, sword itself. Nice tight fit to that scabbard, so it's not going to be falling out. It's not impossible to get in and out, but you do need to use a little bit of pressure. So, first off, looks. This thing looks absolutely beautiful. It is a Type XVIIIa blade, which is one of my personal favorites. I really like those late medieval swords quite a bit. The grip, the hilt is very nice. Beautiful crossguard. You can see some really great detail on there. And the grip itself is lovely. Perfect size for one hand or two hands. And it's got some really nice shape to help define where your hand should be. As we just saw a minute ago, some really nice stitching down the back of the grip. Pommel, absolutely gorgeous. Exactly what we would expect from a Gothic longsword from the 15th-ish century. I love those fishtail pommels. They are absolutely gorgeous. As you have seen in a previous video where I talked about another sword of mine that is a very similar type of sword. It's another 15th century Gothic longsword. It's labeled as an Italian longsword, but it's Gothic. So the blade comes out to just shy of 36 inches, so it is definitely a long sword. It is something where you're not going to be able to use it up close unless you're half swording. Now, the blade is sharp, so unless you are wearing hand protection, very thick gloves, or some sort of metal, I would not recommend grabbing onto that blade with any sort of force, touching that edge with any sort of force, because you will slice your hand open, and that's not going to be a pleasant day for you. The blade is made out of 9260 steel, and the sword comes out to about 3 1/3 pounds, 3 pounds 4 ounces. Now, that may sound a little on the heavier side, but the balance point is pretty close to the grip. As you can see, it's just about 3 inches ahead of the grip, so this thing moves very well, especially if you get that second hand on there. This thing is very agile for sword its size, and it works with one hand no problem. You don't have to fight it for recovery after a slash like you would most other swords of its weight or size. Now, these late Middle Ages swords, 15th century blades, 16th century blades, these Type XVIIIa swords, as you can see, have a very triangular blade shape. Nice and narrow, coming to a very narrow tip. The reason there being, as we've talked about some in previous videos, is these swords are being used at the heyday of plate armor, where you're not so much up against opponents wearing that much mail or even any. And so you want to be able to half sword that blade. I'm not going to grab onto it because I don't want to slice my hand open, to really get in there, find the gaps in that armor, and get your blade in through there. And if you have a wider blade, if you have a wider tip than that, you're not going to be able to do that very easily. So something like this absolutely can cut. It is going to cut quite well, but there are much better cutters out there, like your Type XVIIIc, which we've seen in previous videos as well, like some of your earlier designs, your Type 10 blades, your hackers. But this thing absolutely can cut, but it is really going to excel in that thrust, whether it is just a regular thrust or when you're half sorting. You're not really going to find swords that are better at that thrust until you're looking at those specialized cut and thrust swords, your side swords, your rapiers, and later designs than that, like small swords. Now, with this, it is definitely a really, really nice blade. There are blades that I had that are very comparable to it that are less expensive than it. I would put it on pretty similar footing to my cold steel Italian longsword, which we've looked at. It says it's an Italian longsword. I always refer to it as a Gothic longsword, though, because as you can see, it's basically the same design. I would say that this has slightly nicer scabbard than that does. I would say I like the grip on this one a little bit better, but it's a very, very comparable sword to that one. And it is a little bit more expensive. This one runs on Swordus for $4.99. I managed to get when it was on a really nice sale, which is always going to be great. But it is more expensive than certain other blades like it that it's fairly comparable to, but there are also blades that it is a good deal like that cost considerably more than it does. For instance, Dark Sword has a sword that is a very, very, very similar sword. It's another Gothic longsword that you're going to find running for 150, 200 more than this is, and then you're looking at some of your much pricier blades out there. And I would put this sort of in between that cold steel blade and that dark sword blade. It's not quite as fancy as the dark sword blade is, but it's got a much nicer grip. I do like the decorations in the crossguard here, and it's got a more defined pommel, slightly nicer scabbard than that cold steel blade does. So with that 9260 steel, this thing is going to hold up very well. Yes, there are going to be steels out there that are very, very good as well, but 9260 is a nice hardy steel. So if you did want to do work with this, cutting tests, anything like that, you don't have to worry too much. It's going to hold up very well. Now, like I mentioned a couple times, the blade is sharp. It does come sharpened. I did not have it sharpened by anyone. It came nice and sharp. Now, I cannot attest to how good that edge is throughout. I'm not someone who really likes to do cutting tests with my sword, but it is definitely sharp enough that I am careful having body parts or other people around that blade because I don't want to accidentally slice myself or anyone else. Now, is this a sword that I would recommend? Probably, yeah. I would definitely recommend it to certain demographics. If you are someone who is like myself, where you just like to collect swords because you absolutely love them, you're a cosplayer, you're doing a lot of photographs with stuff, I would absolutely 100% recommend this sword for you. If you're someone who likes to physically utilize those swords for cutting tests, all that stuff, maybe. I can't really attest to the quality of the edge on this, like I said. And it does have a little bit wider of a tip than some of your other 18A swords are going to. It's got a little bit more roundness coming down, as you can maybe see with that there. So I can't really speak for if it will be a good sword for that, but I think it'll be all right. Um, so yeah, this is a really nice sword. Got it off of Sordus. It normally runs for $4.99. It is a just shy of 36-inch blade, about 3 1/3 pounds, made out of 9260 steel. So if you like how this looks, you like how this sounds, head on over to Sordus. It is the Gothic 18A longsword from their Sordus line, and definitely check it out. Have a great day.